Let's do this thing. You know how to work that?
Welcome to another episode of Hardheaded. I'm your host, Matt Amos. With me, as always, Chet Sears, and
Troy's not here.
he ain't here.
He ain't here. We gotta stop with the as always. Because it's not always.
It's not always.
All of us have missed an episode. Although the one I missed, I sent in a video recording. How does it feel to be back on the board?
You know, it's like coming home.
Yeah, speaking of coming home, this is our the day that we're recording this. 4 years ago on this date, we sat down with you behind the board in the trophy room and recorded our first episode.
Very first episode.
It didn't release until January, but we started recording 4 years ago. It has flown by, and it has been extremely slow at the same time.
It's amazing that our entire podcast has been under the presidency of Joe Biden.
Every bit of it.
Well, not every bit of it. Technically, there were about 20 days. Roughly. Well, no, not 20 days. What was it? 6 days.
No, it's the 20th is when he's inaugurated. January 20th.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
We'll get to January 6th here in a little bit.
Yeah, that's when the delegates get their electoral college votes counted. Yeah, but then the inauguration is later.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yep.
All right. So Troy's not with us today. Had a last minute scheduling change to his kids' basketball schedule, and so they threw in 2 games last minute, and that's where he is. I think he made the better decision of where to be at the moment.
Always.
Some of the things we're gonna cover a couple of things in the news. There are 4 things that I'm thinking about. Two nominees that I'm not a big fan of for Trump's cabinet. One of them actually stepped down today, the day we're recording this, and then shocking news to the surprise of everyone. President Biden did not tell the truth, and he actually did pardon his son, Hunter Biden, from his federal crime of possession of a firearm as a convicted felon. He pardoned him from the tax evasion case that he's currently under, and he also pardoned him for any other crimes he may have committed for the last 11 years. Oddly specific number. Not a round number. 11 years.
Oh, it was pretty funny because who's that? Oh, man, he's a Comedy Central guy.
Colbert?
No, not Colbert, the other one. Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart did a whole thing on this, and he's like, we were so close.
Yeah.
He's like, we could have judged from like
a moral high ground.
Like from a moral high ground, and he goes, we screwed it up.
Yeah, lied just like every other politician. That's sad. So there's that. We'll get into that a little bit. And then again, we're recording a couple days before release, and today this coup attempt. Well, technically, it's just martial law has been implemented in South Korea. The president there declared martial law around midnight, which doesn't allow. They have a rule that the president can do this, and then it basically shuts down the government and a few other activities. It seemed like he was about to lose power and is trying to hold on to it. And now that was earlier this morning, in this evening that we're recording. People have taken to the streets. There are people elected officials are actually trying to get into the Parliament building, but there are troops that are keeping them out. So basically, when you have the military involved and you're not able to proceed with any government function, I would assume you could label this a coup. by the person trying to stay in power actually is not allowing anything to happen, which is pretty interesting. You don't hear much out of South Korea, so I haven't dug in to see what else is causing all this. I hadn't had time to get to it today, but pretty interesting. A lot of unrest. There's Syria is starting to heat up again. There's a lot going on there. Naturally, the threat from Donald Trump. Did you hear this? Earlier today, or yesterday?
I saw where he threatened
you release the hostages before I'm inaugurated, or you will have hell to pay. He said you will have hell to pay is what he said.
Unlike anything ever before.
So yeah, that's interesting.
So I did see that. Now, apparently, South Korea, they lifted the martial law.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that breaking? Did that just come in?
Yeah, as of 5:15.
Okay, so that's 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good for them. Now what?
I don't know, because I don't even know. I don't like I said, I didn't have time to look into this at all. So I was trying to find out really why, I guess.
I could be spreading propaganda with this, but the dude that implemented it said, oh wow, no, never mind, that's old. Said that he's doing it to stop communist forces from influencing their opposing political party.
So that's what. Okay, so it says he appeared likely to be impeached over his actions. So he imposed martial law out of frustration with the opposition, vowing to eliminate anti-state forces as he struggles against opponents who control parliament. So basically, a two-party system. That'd be like basically the Trump doing, declaring martial law because he lost the election. Basically, what the Democrats accused him of what he was going to do back in 2020.
Yeah. So there's something going on there, though. There's got to be something behind the scenes that we don't know about. So that's pretty strange. I was not did not have that on my bingo card today, but it got pretty crazy there, and interesting. I mean, that's an ally of ours, kind of a Western type government, and all of a sudden, I mean, nothing like that could ever happen here. Wink, wink. What do you feel about the Biden pardon deal?
Whatever.
Yeah?
It's government. I mean, do I agree with it? No. If I was in that position and that was my kid, would I have done that? Probably not.
Yeah, it kind of
I mean, as a parent, you did the crime. And obviously at for 11 years, not the last 10, but the last 11. So there's obviously something that he's pardoning him from that we don't know about.
Oh, we know about it. I think it's the Burisma. There is this congressional investigation that's been going on has found $20 million that the Biden family got through Hunter Biden by his business dealings during Biden's vice presidency. And I guarantee you all that money was probably transferred in the last 11 years.
Maybe. Is that Ukraine money?
That's the Ukraine thing and the China. There was a big deal in China where Hunter flew over on Air Force 2 and did some business dealings. And you remember Biden was like, nope, it wasn't me. I didn't know anything about it. He did all this on his own. And then come to find out that he did know, and he was on the phone with one of them. All this came from Hunter Biden's laptop. I mean, it's the evidence. Yeah, dude, the corruption upon corruption.
Yeah,
so
I mean, so all these people were, and I've got friends on both sides of the fence, and so when I hopped on to social media the other day, and there was one of them that was going to start, unfriending people over the comments that they were making about Biden pardoning Hunter. And just kind of like, and then pointing out, who Trump pardoned. I was like, well, Trump didn't pardon any family members. That's
by relation. He, Jared Kushner is his son-in-law.
Son-in-law?
And he pardoned Jared Kushner's dad. So, I mean, distant relative, what do you call that? By marriage? I don't know. But why can't people's behavior just stand on its own merit? And why do we always compare? And we always have to remind our listeners, anytime we criticize Biden, that doesn't mean we're pro-Trump. And anytime we criticize Trump, doesn't mean we're pro-Biden. Why can't we just say what Biden did was wrong for justice? And of all things, gun laws. If the kind of the Jon Stewart thing, moral high ground, if you just want to talk about gun laws and how the left has been going after guns, the one conviction that he had was a violation of a gun law, that a felony criminal cannot own firearms, and he bought one in Delaware. He was convicted in Delaware. Lied on his whatever. What's the form? Yeah, 4473 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so no moral high ground on the lying about it, and then also, it's okay to violate gun laws. That's fine. We don't care about those either.
Yeah, well, because the gun wasn't used in a crime. I mean, all the defense behind it, and it's like that's one of your biggest hat racks in the Democratic Party is gun control. And here you have the gun laws on the book that are never enforced, which we've been saying all along. That's the whole problem, is the gun laws aren't enforced. The laws on the books. There you go. It's because you're pardoning the whole deal.
Yep.
That's cool.
Absolutely nuts. Oh, so two people. Oh shoot, what's her name? I'm drawing a blank on the Attorney General pick. The second one. Remember, it was Matt Gaetz, and then he stepped out, and then it's Pam Bondi from Florida. That's her name. So she is pro red flag laws. I don't know if you know this.
I do not.
Yeah. So for our listeners that don't know about red flag laws, it's basically, speaking of gun control, the ability for law enforcement to take away your constitutionally protected rights without due process in an effort to, quote, prevent harm.
Right.
So basically, and where this has been used in certain situations, most situations, let's just say Matt and I have a falling out and I get mad and I want Matt to pay for something, I can call the cops and say, hey, Matt is unhinged. He's a veteran, wounded veteran, and I'm in fear for his safety because I think he may do something crazy to himself or those around him. And then the cops just show up and take all of his guns away from him. And then Matt has to lawyer up and then sue to get your guns back. So there was no investigation, no proof, no anything. I'm absolved from any. I'm doing the good of the people, trying to keep harm from coming your way. But you don't have the ability to own any of the firearms that you've already paid for until you can prove in the court of law that you aren't a potential harm for you or anybody else. So totally taking away your rights, and then you have to sue to get your rights back. And that's a big deal to me. And it's kind of shocking that Trump has nominated an attorney general that is 100% on board with that program. It's not that she just allowed it. She kind of praised it in a couple of different speeches. So that's one thing we need to watch out for. Another one, and I can't remember the guy's name, but the DEA pick, Drug Enforcement Agency, which I think Doge is going to go after the DEA because what have they done for us lately? like drugs are worse, and we're paying for this whole agency that is supposed to stop it. But anyway, his pick was a sheriff, I think, in Florida as well. I'm not 100% sure on the location. But this sheriff caught some flack. He arrested a pastor for holding services during COVID. So totally not the guy that I would want on my administration from his crazy picks. Or his crazy behavior during COVID. Not only freedom of assembly, but freedom of religion. He's going after pastors because of the craziness around the coronavirus. He stepped down today. He said, thanks for the nomination. A lot of heat started coming that way.
So is there anybody else in that slot?
No. He just stepped down like an hour before we sat down in the studio. Massey and Tim Scott. There's several politicians on the conservative side that started slamming this guy. Like, do we want somebody running a government agency that got in lockstep with the lockdowns to the point where it put a pastor in jail for preaching? And so the dude, he didn't say he stepped down because of the pressure. He's like, I got stuff to do in my own community. So, thanks, but no thanks. But I don't think he was going to make it through the nomination process and get the vote there. So anyway, another one that was concerning to me, but before we sat down to record, he actually stepped aside. So I was pretty excited about that.
Who else has been Homeland Security? Kristi Noem. We talked about her.
Not a fan.
I don't know. I got to research Doug Collins with Veteran Affairs. We had RFK. He was there. Pete Hegseth, one of the organizations that I know is deeply fond of him. So I'll take their word for it.
Yeah.
Plus, just going back to some of his interviews, they look pretty good. And we talked about that last time. But kind of what I was doing there was I was going through. Now, Trump had, I think it was like 144 pardons or something like that is what he dished out.
Yeah.
And just on a cursory kind of like glance at all those, a lot of them were marijuana based.
Yeah.
So far, Joe Biden says 29, including Hunter so far. Because, of course, as his term comes down, he's going to pardon a lot more. Of the 29, 11 of them were cocaine with one heroin. I just thought that was a funny comparison because his son does crack and heroin.
Yeah.
Or was a drug addict. So they may have been his suppliers at one point, and he's like,
could be.
Dad, I need you to pardon these guys, man, or else they're going to kill me.
He literally, the pardon covers from January 1st, 2014 to December 1st, 2024.
What was I even doing in 2014?
Well, if you were Hunter Biden, you were breaking the law, apparently.
Breaking the law.
But how do you, I don't get it, man. The only pardon that's been similar to this when it's basically saying that any violation of the law between this time period. So the way the pardon is worded, it's considered a sweeping pardon. Offenses against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period of January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024. So it's not, I'm pardoning him from the conviction of the gun law. If he committed 1,000 crimes in that time period, he's pardoned from all of them.
Right.
The only time, so we could say that this is unprecedented, it is for a non-politician to have been pardoned this way. The only other person that was pardoned this way at all was Richard Nixon. And that's what Gerald Ford did after Nixon resigned, and he basically covered the presidency and said anything he did during his term, we're not going out. He's pardoned from it. Let's not go after him. He did the honorable thing and stepped down after breaking the law in theory, because he wasn't even convicted of that. It was just all this blew up, and he said, I'm stepping. I'm going to resign. And then after he resigned, Ford came in and said, okay, he's pardoned from all this stuff, and that basically stopped the opportunity for an opposing political party to go on a witch hunt. And you could argue that that's what Biden's doing here.
For sure. I think they thought Trump was going to come after him or whatever. And but at the same time, I did see an interesting thought from a more it may have been from Manchin, where they interviewed him. And he's like, well, if I was a dad, as I was in that position, and I probably would have done the same thing. He goes, but if we're going to do that, why doesn't he just pardon Trump?
That would be interesting.
Because then it would be like, oh, okay, hey, tit for tat, basically.
Well, and especially, when we know that everything that's happened to Trump has been politically motivated as well.
For sure.
That's an interesting take. Wonder if he would do that.
I think it would be like, I think people would let the son thing go a little bit.
That would be because there's rumors of, Biden kind of flipping the bird and giving Obama and everybody else the big, screw you through everything he's done. Stepping down when he did, and when he stepped down, he endorsed Harris. I've read a couple articles recently that nobody wanted Harris, but because Biden did that they were
stuck.
Yep. So wouldn't that be a turn?
And it's so funny because we know Biden's not making these decisions. So who's making these decisions for him?
Jill. It was Jill on the Hunter deal. But if we knew somebody that was an advisor to Biden, he needs to whisper that in their ear. That would be awesome.
Well,
Trump.
Manchin said it on CNN.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah? I was seeing you come up with that on your own. I was giving you a lot of credit for that.
No. He was doing an interview, and he goes, I think to keep it fair, he goes, because the appearance of this is not good, and the Democrats are having a hard time.
Yeah.
Having the moral high ground, and so it's like, well, if he's going to do that, you might as well go ahead and pardon Trump.
Dude, that would be awesome.
So anyway, looking at old Doug Collins, the presumptive nominee for the Secretary of the VA, is Air Force veteran from OIF, Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Yeah.
And he is a chaplain.
Oh, wow.
Who attended New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary.
Really? Okay. I know some people down there.
So let's hope that the old Air Force and military and politics hasn't corrupted him, but
yeah,
that might be a good pick for the old Secretary of the VA.
Comes from good stock.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science.
Well, we're going to move on primarily because I'm conflicted. I enjoy podcasting with you, Matt. But it's also the eve of rifle season opener, and I'm headed to the deer woods after we're done here.
Are you?
Technically, I'm headed home, and then I've got to load everything up, and then
you're going to leave.
Then I'm headed north. So let's move on.
Let's not. Let's go ahead and cover some more here. Surely there's some more world events.
I'll just let you talk about it. Then you just go right ahead. All on your own there, buddy.
You got to stay right there, buddy.
So top three, what are we doing in the top three on? Top three things we like about deer hunting?
Top three things we like about deer hunting. I don't think we said that at the beginning of the podcast.
We did not. We did not.
So today, we're lost without Troy. Don't tell him.
He's not here to keep us on track.
I tell you what, though, I do feel like I make this seat look better.
Okay. Speak for yourself.
Now he's going to do something funny with me sitting in that chair.
So, man, fire away. Top three things.
Well, Number 3, the food.
Okay.
So when I go, food is always kind of the most important thing. Well, it's one of the most important things.
Yeah.
It's kind of the base for everything else. So, whether that's, having bacon and eggs in the morning, sausage, after you come back from a morning hunt. I don't know about you. I'm not one of those guys who goes out and gets in the blind, at 5:45 and then hunts until 2:00 in the afternoon. If I'm in it,
Yeah.
I'm up in the blind before the sun comes up. I'll hunt till maybe 9:30 ish.
Oh my gosh. That's way too early, man.
Then I'm out. I'm going to go and
look.
Listen, I know
there's a difference between 2 and 9. You ought to be pushing 10:30.
No, I don't think so.
If you come back, if you get out of that stand before 10, is it even a hunt?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Because then I can come back, get my breakfast, and it typically kind of all revolves really around a bowel movement. And I know I got to be out of that blind.
Okay, well, I'm not going to do that.
But no, so like the food, so it kind of sets it up, the breakfast, coming back, doing a little sandwich or something like that for lunch, and then get the crock pot going, whether it's chili, stew, something hearty and warm to come back to in the evening. And doing all that is kind of my one of my favorite things there. The number 2 is the ability to just not have a set schedule. So if I don't want to get up and go to the blind, I don't have to get up and go to the blind.
This is coming from a man with a full freezer. That's what this is.
Well, I know
You're talking you enjoy the food of it, but you don't need food if you're not putting more than an hour and a half in on the morning sit.
Chet, let me tell you how it's done on a successful deer property. I have had this place since 2007. I know when those deer move.
Yeah.
I know exactly what time. You can ask Troy. I said, Troy, when you get in this blind, this is the same hunt where Troy took 3 shots, ended up shooting a button buck. But I told him, I was like, Troy, you're going to get in. He goes, what time do I need to be there? And I was like, well, I mean, it'd be nice if you just came out and kind of, maybe spent the night and, did a whole day and could take your time. And he goes, well, I don't have a whole lot of time. And he goes, I'm basically just going to kind of come out and hunt one afternoon. And I said, okay. I said, you need to be here by 2:30. I said, you need to be in the blind by 2:45. I said, by 3:15, you'll have the deer in front of you and you'll kill one.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it happened.
Well, you should have told him a time that the button buck wasn't walking out.
Well, I told him the time that the deer come out, and he had, according to his story, he had, I can't remember. There was a large group of does that came in. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to shoot one of them because I don't know if he was worried about shooting multiples or what. And then he said what he called a huge 8-point came in.
Yeah, and he wasn't supposed to shoot a buck.
And he wasn't supposed to shoot a buck. And then that little one was with the buck. Mm-hmm. And so the buck went off, and then he took the little one thinking it was a doe next to that.
Took it in a long and drawn out way.
Next to that giant buck.
Right.
But I was like, that you had mature does that showed up. I know because they're on camera.
Yeah.
Like, this was all after the fact. Like, I went back and I looked at the camera. I watched him get out of his blind, retrieve his arrow, shoot his deer again. Like, I've got it all on video. And I was like, what are you doing? Anyway, so I know how the deer move. I know when I need to be in my blind.
So it's not hunting. You're just going to the grocery store when you feel like.
Well, I've got it set up, and I've worked for years to get it to the place where I can just show up and shop.
Yeah.
Which typically is shooting a doe. I've taken one buck on my place, and that was the very first year and I have never taken another one since. My
Yeah.
daughters have both shot one, but that's been it. And then number one, my favorite thing is being able to is I don't even want to hunt anymore. I enjoy sharing it with other people.
Yeah.
So I don't want them to come stay for a long time because it's my time. Like
Yeah.
it's my me time. So typically in a normal year, this year is not a normal year because my cabin's going through some reconstruction. But normally I would take the entire season, the entire rifle season, and I would split it up into week one is kind of my time. I do my own thing. And then maybe, week two, have somebody come out after I've had that relaxed time by myself.
For our listeners, rifle season in Kansas is roughly 10 days. It starts on a Wednesday and goes through the second Sunday. So it's Wednesday all the way through the weekend, then goes all the way through the following week and ends on the Sunday.
Yeah, so I mean, I get out there and maybe those first 5 days are mine, or maybe I'll have somebody come out and hunt the first 5 days, and those last 5 days are mine to myself.
Yeah,
whatever. But I do enjoy sharing that with other people, and then and part of that is kind of crossing over into this year a little bit is the processing, which I really it's sharing that with others.
You're pretty
but I love the process.
Belligerent about it, though.
What?
You?
What do you mean belligerent?
Well, because you got this text thread with the guys I hunt with,
right?
Because we're gonna kill deer, and you're like, "Hey guys, let's do this. Here's a summer sausage recipe. Let's do that. Here's this. Let's do this."
Yep.
And then I say something you disagree with, and you're like, you're not invited anymore."
I can't remember what you said, but you got yourself uninvited. I can't remember what you.
You're just wrote. Immediately like, Chet's out, switching channels or something like that. Yeah.
Hold on. Let me go back and see what you said here.
Whatever it was just to inflame you. That's all I was trying to do, was just put you in a bad way, because that's what I like to do, especially in those threads.
Where's it at?
Most everybody that I know that knows you, nobody talks to you like I do. Like, and they're shocked when I do.
I can't find it. Where'd you write that?
I don't know. You kicked me out like 3 times. But it was pretty funny.
Yeah, anytime you open your mouth, I say you're uninvited.
Yeah.
Anytime you text.
I know.
Well, because I remember, because we were going back and forth, and then I came back and I said, I was like, Tim and Jeremy are going to silence it like Troy silences us, because we get to going back and forth, talking smack.
Yeah.
I do know you said you've got killing on your mind and not shopping, because I sent you a list of stuff that you might want to get. And then I said, I guess when you aren't 100% successful, you need to think about killing.
Right. But I'm always successful.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, here it is. That's what it was. You text on two. Oh, this is when I was pheasant hunting. Like, don't want to put the cart before the horse, but it's processing time. What do y'all want to make? Brat, summer sausage, snack sticks, jerky. Let's make a wish list, and I'll send y'all to get the stuff we need. And then a couple other people respond, and I reply, because there's a bunch of texts flowing back and forth. I ain't got no time to think about that. I'm out here busting some ditch chickens. And then you said, Chet's out. And then it's you said something about the Bearded Butcher's seasoning, and I said Ohio don't know Cajun, because the Bearded Butchers are from Ohio, and you said Oklahoma Chet has left the chat. That's pretty funny. Yeah, because I was busy. Like, I'm out there killing birds, and we stop and get a drink of water at the truck, and my phone's blowing up, and you go shopping for this and get that ingredient. Like, I'm out here shooting birds. You guys are sitting there talking about,
I just want to make sure that if you do get something, that we're able to process it, because I do know last minute.
Back up.
Go ahead.
You used a word there that should not be used. Yeah.
I said if. You heard me.
Huh?
You heard me.
Look, every year every year I've hunted in the state of Kansas, I've killed deer. So I'm probably jinxing myself for tomorrow.
Keep it going.
So far, every year I've hunted deer. So here we go. My top 3. I'm going to go with the learning. As I've been hunting deer for, I don't know, how old am I? 35, 38 years. Does that sound right?
You 56?
No. I've been hunting deer since I was a little young boy. Little boy. And I'm still learning about deer. And still I'm pretty competent now, but there's still things that I'm like, oh, okay. That's good to know. Yeah, so I enjoy that.
I would agree with you there. There's like you can get their patterns, and then you can see what they do, and then there's always something new.
Yeah,
like nothing ever stays the same. I had this off topic, but I had a discussion like this with the vaccines because, like I said, I've been reading that RFK book. I'm still not done because it's a 27-hour listen on Audible at 1.3.
Good gracious,
still 26 hours. But they were talking about the science, and then how all these people are just set on this is what it is, and it's like, well, we need to constantly challenge what we know, and see if it holds up, and if it doesn't, and there's something new that's better that makes more sense, then we do it that way.
So that's a mark of a good scientist and a good hunter,
right? And so it's the same thing. Like if there's something that that seems to work, and again, I think that gets into the marketing aspect of deer. You can sell somebody anything.
Yeah.
There's always a market for somebody.
Yeah. To well, especially something. With these rifle shooters. Oh, we got a new caliber.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what I said.
6.5 PRC is the best ever.
Well, and that's why I sent you the original top 3 for this, because I figured it would fire you up.
Yeah.
Let's do the top 3 deer whitetail rounds, and why are all 3 of them 6.5 PRC? And but but there's always something to learn and improve. Because it's not like you can sit out there and you can study it, and something will change, and you're like, why did that change, or why do they act this way? And
well, even if it doesn't change, and it does, the more time you sit in the woods and watch deer, the more things you see, stuff that you've never seen before. Last year, I was fortunate enough to get, in Kansas, you can only kill 1 buck a year. And my first sit of the season, I shot my buck, and then there was snow on the ground, like, I don't know, 5 inches of snow on the ground. It was a beautiful, beautiful white day. And so I shot my deer, and I just sat there and watched, and I think I saw 6 more deer that morning. And my the other guys on my lease with me weren't able to be there that morning, so I was like, I'm not shooting another deer. I'm not doing 2 deer on my own. Like I'll take care of 1, but I'm not stacking these bodies up. So I just sat there and watched them, and it was beautiful. And then a little bit later, another hunt, the same, just a few days later, had a coyote come out, and I've seen coyotes from the stand before, but he actually got really close and then went and sat down and rested, and then got up and left. And then I saw a buck come in and wind the coyote, and I've always, like, oh, they're going to be skittish. No, that buck went and sniffed and found the trail, the exact path that the coyote had walked, and then went to where it laid down, and then got a little, it was like, oh, okay. And then it started acting a little weird. And I was like, oh, that's really neat. I didn't know how a buck would react in that situation, and to be able to sit there and get to see it. And so yeah, just the learning. And anytime I learn a whole lot duck hunting too, probably more duck hunting, because you interact with the birds, by calling and decoy spreads and all this other stuff. But I think one of the things I really love about, my third top of the top 3 is just the learning environment And if you're thinking through those things, you don't have a whole lot of time to think about anything else. And that's another thing that I like. It kind of clears my head.
Right.
Number 2 would be the food. And I grew up eating deer meat. My dad's dad, all hunted for food. And, that if some people may be hearing this for the first time, but if you've eaten ground meat at my house, it probably wasn't a hamburger. About 9 chances out of 10, you had deer meat. So chili, spaghetti sauce, tacos, you name it. We have a lot of deer meat. One of my wife's favorite foods is I'll take a thin cut back strap and hammer that out real thin with the old meat mallet thing, and then do a little, put that in some flour, egg wash, and then double batter that thing and fry them up. Most of the evenings that I cook that, we don't even sit down at the table. We're just standing around
the stove, and as soon as it comes off.
As soon as that comes off, it hits the paper towels, dry a little grease off that thing, you start eating it, and then while you're frying the rest of them.
The old chicken fried venison.
Man, it's so good. So number 2 would be food. Number 1, you kind of mentioned people. The deer camp. I think that's pretty cool. Had the opportunity to, we were on, Louisiana is really tough. A lot of leases in Louisiana. And so I had my first construction stuff that I ever did was building deer stands, with my dad. And then, we built out a place to sleep in somebody's detached garage on a lease that we had, and just hanging around, because one of the crappy things about daylight savings in the wintertime is it gets dark so early, but that also means you got a lot of time to hang out in the deer camp before it gets late. So you can still hang out, have a good meal, and then go to bed early. But just the fellowship, great memories. And I think one of those things that's really cool is, with my dad, I'd spent a lot of time with him early on as I was younger, living in the house. And then every now and then coming home from college, we'd get out and hunt together, over Thanksgiving break, Christmas break, or whatever. But then, you get married, move away, kids. So I went on my own path, but then it was really cool for him to come back, move to Kansas. We got on this lease together, the one that we're still on, and Tim was on it with us the whole time, and getting to reconnect in the deer camp with my dad. So just phenomenal. And all the trash talking and the meals and the prep, and my dad being retired, he got so keyed up on it. I mean, no joke, because our season's either at the end of December or end of November or the beginning of December. October, my dad's already got the menu planned. Like, he's writing it out. This is what we're gonna eat for breakfast on this day. This is what we're gonna eat for dinner. And and he brought his little fry daddy. We're having some crappie. Yeah, all the stuff is just a whole lot of fun. So we're trying to carry some of that tradition on. Naturally, I'm not as effective at planning as he is. But I would say that's my number 1 thing. Really excited about this year, because as Stone is getting older, he's getting more into hunting. I think he's realizing that he's able to wake up. When we were in high school, he did not want to get up early in the morning, especially Friday night football. He's out with the band, and they typically go out to eat after the game's over. So he's getting in really late, and he's not wanting to turn around first thing in the morning and go anywhere. But he's coming down, so he's gonna come hunt with us for a couple evenings. So and he's buying a tag, so I hope to for him to seal the deal and add some meat to his freezer.
There you go,
which is gonna be pretty exciting.
Yeah, speaking of so I went to Kentucky for a deer camp back in October, and the gentleman whose place it was, I was just looking because the hunt was like the 16th through whatever of October. He sent me, he goes, here's the menu, like September 9th.
Yeah.
And so, the big thing, because he loves to cook. I mean, that's his,
Yep.
He loves to feed people. And then he's like, okay, so now if this menu looks good, then I'm going to start with the pairing of the wine with each of these meals. And I'm not a wine drinker. Like I don't really drink alcohol. And, I've never really liked wine.
Right.
I got an education
at
this deer camp, and I did not have a bad pairing. Like, it was really, really good wine. And I was like, well, he's probably just buying some really expensive bottles, and he goes, he's very open. He goes, I just like good wine. He goes, some of these are expensive bottles of wine. He goes, some of them are $20.
Yeah.
He goes, I just like good wine. And
then
I learned that I didn't know this. Did you know that there are different glasses for red and white wine?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. And even in the inside of the red and the white, there's also different glasses. So,
I got a whole educate. Like, he went into this whole detailed thing one night at dinner, and it was crazy.
Like, my bad. One of them, you got to let it breathe. All this other kind of stuff. It's I know enough about it to know I don't know much about it, if that makes sense.
I know even less than I thought. It was one of those learning experiences that didn't have to do with hunting, but I learned a lot.
Right.
And it revolved around food because this guy really likes food.
On the menu for us, some of the pheasant that we shot last week, smoke rings in jambalaya. So we're
in jambalaya?
Yeah. And
you have to let me know how that tastes.
Well, I'll let you know how that goes. And there's it's the jambalaya calls for less than I'm going to thaw. So we'll have some just straight up smoke rings, and then I'll have another sample and see if they're still hot, because I've only eaten one sample so far. One link. What else? I'm going to fry some crappie.
So what are you going to do on those pheasant? How are you going to prepare those?
So a buddy of mine, Lance, said cube them. So I just took the breast out. So I'm going to cube them and fry them like nuggets. And he suggested this McCormick beer batter. And he's like, make it extra runny, a little bit more than what they call for, and just eat them when they come out. And he said they're like, his kid, everybody is just raves about them. And he's done it other ways. He said it just doesn't get better than this. So that's how I'm going to do it.
So that was one of the things that we had at this deer camp. Like, he sent me, and we're going to have pheasant. I was like, oh, sweet.
Yeah.
And so he did it in kind of the way that you described your chicken fried venison.
Yeah.
So he hammered it out real flat, real thin, and then basically just had a flour with salt, pepper, garlic. And I think that was basically it. And then breaded them, egg wash.
Yep.
Bread again, egg wash, and then fried them. Oh, they were so good.
Yeah.
So
I believe it. It's hard to beat fried anything.
Pretty much. I mean, but and then we had some leftover fillets, and we marinated those overnight, and then stuck those on the smoke. Oh, so good.
So tradition at our deer camp as well is we grill one of the hearts from one of the deer that we kill. Normally not mine. You know why? Because they're exploded.
Right.
That's where I shoot my deer.
Right.
Well, that's where I shoot my bucks. Shoot my does behind the ear. If it presents itself that way. But
we won't get into your doe buck killing thing.
What does that even mean?
That's a whole nother podcast.
I kill both.
You
bucks
shouldn't.
And does.
You shouldn't.
I do.
You should let them grow.
I do let them grow. All my bucks I shoot are mature.
Your last one was.
My last.
I don't remember the one before, really, I guess, but your last one was
mature. Yeah, another old one. All right, I got a good word for us. Well, let's give Troy's top three. We could do it on his behalf. He likes the food. He likes hunting other people's property, and he likes shooting at anything that's brown.
Yes,
that's
3 times.
Yeah, as many times as he can.
Well,
I'm sorry, Troy.
With as many arrows as he has, which is going to be 3.
All right. Psalm 37, I think it's Psalm 34. Oh, I'm sorry. I want to get this right. It is Psalm 37. No, I'm sorry. Psalm 37, verse 4. That's what it is. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. I think it's really important here to understand that if your delight is in the Lord, when he gives you the desires of your heart, he's giving you more of himself. It's not, I'm going to delight, air quotes, in the Lord so I can get a new truck. Yeah. Oh, it's funny that we're thinking vehicles. It's not about that. Is if you value your relationship with the Lord, he will give you more of himself. So if you feel disconnected, if you feel not close to the Lord right now, if you feel you're caught up in all the holiday stuff and not caught up in Jesus right now, if you would then take time to delight in him, focus on him, understand who he is and what he did for you, then he will give you more of himself. And so a lot of times people just want him to show up. And I think this is telling us, go find him. Like, dig in scripture, get your rear end in a pew on Sunday morning, sign up for a Bible study. You do those things, he's going to give you the desires of your heart, which is more of himself. So what would that be? Delight? Delight is the
Speaking of, have you seen Theo Vaughn talking about atheism?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Like,
no, not Theo Vaughn.
So he was basically saying that he didn't understand atheism. I think he's because he's
on a journey.
He's on a journey. He's dealt with some addiction and he's had a past. But what's interesting to me is he's like, you're telling me that there's this dude out there in the universe that is just, he's there. He goes, I felt alone all my life.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that there's somebody out there that cares about me, and he goes, it's really, I don't know. It's interesting. And overall, I mean, you've got like, your Russell Brands and
I'll tell you another one.
I don't know. It's just kind of like everything's kind of now the pendulum is swinging again.
I get ads on my one of my social media deals for the Hallow app. It's the Catholic app.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know who's on there doing devotionals now? Kevin James.
Really?
From King of Queens.
Huh.
Yeah, Bear Grylls, which we knew about Bear.
Right.
Bear was the one that led Russell Brand to Christ.
Yeah, he's the one who baptized him.
Yeah. So
speaking of, I did see the other day, and I don't know. I was like, but Bear Grylls got stung by a jellyfish, and he was out there with one of the Spice Girls, and she peed on his hand.
How long ago? Oh, on his show?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's probably all made up.
I was like, bro.
The scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because I have seen, when he does like the very dangerous stunts, and then somebody went there and just walked across like this little
the lava bridge.
Yeah, that's so funny.
It is television, folks. It is television. All right. Why don't you take us home, man?
We already did. We'll see you next week.
That's all you got to say.
That's it.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Hardheaded Podcast. Don't forget to share this podcast with others to help us get the word out.
Also, if you haven't yet, please rate and review the show. This helps our podcast show up in other people's suggested shows that may or may not have listened to us before.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.